Comments were made and different things, and an altercation happened, and I struck her. I actually had hit her in the face, and for some reason I just kept on hitting her in the face, and because of that, I feared going to prison for slugging her in the face and causing bodily injury, and so I killed her. Put the body up there in the Columbia River Gorge. I had tied a rope around its neck, mostly I didn't know how the body reacted when you start moving it. I was puzzled. Let's say it was something that just caught me kind of like off guard, especially when I heard it wanted to confess to it. Yes, I did kill her. Yeah. Her attitude was like her life was all hell and she didn't want to be around, and she wanted me to feel sorry for her, and I just, well, I can kill you, just put you out of your misery, and she said go for it, so I did. Well, I told her that, if your life's so bad, why don't you just end it? I felt that by dragging her under the truck that I would destroy all evidence of who her identity was. That's what I had done with the first one, so I never changed. It worked the first time, so I went to the second and third, fourth, and fifth, sixth, and seventh. I'm sorry it happened. Wish it never happened. And can we move on? Yeah, come on. It's done. It's over with.
April 6, 1955, Chilliwack, British Columbia. A child is born into a house where love is measured in bruises. Keith Hunter Jesperson, the middle son of Les and Gladys Jesperson, enters a world ruled by his father's fists and whiskey. Les Jesperson, a trucker with a temper as volatile as his rig's engine, believed in discipline. And discipline for Keith came in the form of belts, blows, and even electric shocks. He'd beat me till I couldn't cry, Keith later recalled. But the worst punishment? Being called Igor by his brother. At a very early age, as young as 5, Jesperson would capture and torture animals. He enjoyed watching animals kill each other, as well as the feeling he got from taking their lives. This continued as he grew older. Jesperson would capture birds and strays around the trailer park where he lived with his family, severely beating the animals and then strangling them to death, something for which he claims his father was proud of him. In the years following, Jesperson said he often thought about what it would be like to do the same to a human. At 10, rage erupted. A friend, Martin, blamed him for a prank. Keith attacked, fists flying, until his father dragged him off. "I wanted to kill him," he admitted. A year later, revenge. A boy held him underwater at a lake. Keith retaliated at a public pool, drowning him until lifeguards intervened. Violence was his language, and it was only getting louder. At 14, a new horror. Keith claimed he was raped by an older teen. He buried the trauma beneath layers of shame and rage. High school offered no refuge. 6'7" by graduation, he was a giant with the social skills of a ghost. No dances, no friends. Just a job at a local dairy and a growing obsession with control. In 1975, he married Rose Hucka, a fleeting glimpse of normalcy. 3 children followed, but the road called, and with it, temptation. Several years later, Hucka began to suspect Jesperson was having affairs when strange women would call. Tension in the marriage increased, and after 14 years, while Jesperson was on the road, Hucka packed up her children and belongings and drove 200 miles, 322 kilometers, to live with her parents in Spokane, Washington. Jesperson continued to spend time with his children when he was in town. The couple divorced in 1990. At age 35, standing 6 feet 7 inches, 2.01 meters, and weighing approximately 255 pounds, 116 kilograms, Jesperson began working toward the goal of joining the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, RCMP. But an injury suffered while training ended this endeavor. He then sought work again as a truck driver after relocating to Cheney, Washington. Jesperson soon realized that this job afforded him the opportunity to kill without being suspected. In 1990, Keith Jesperson was a man unmoored. At 35, he stood 6 feet 7 inches, a mountain of muscle and resentment, with a life in shambles. His marriage crumbled. His dream of becoming a Royal Canadian Mounted Police officer snuffed out by a training injury, a cruel twist of fate that left him bruised, bitter, and back behind the wheel of a truck. But this time, the road wasn't just a job. It was a refuge for a rage that had nowhere else to go. Alone in his Portland apartment, Jesperson filled the void with cheap thrills, bars, one-night stands, escorts. To him, women were conquests, objects to dominate, then discard.
The woman he met in a Portland area bar was a 23-year-old named Tanya Bennett, described by family as overtly friendly and developmentally slow.
But on January 23, 1990, the void fought back. Enter Tanya Bennett, 23 years old, her laughter tinged with innocence, her trust forged by a lifetime of overcoming a mild disability. She met Jesperson at the Twilight Lounge, a dive bar where hope went to die.
Took her home. I thought I was going to get lucky.
He promised her a night of fun. Instead, he led her to a dimly lit apartment, still haunted by the ghosts of failed relationships. As they fumbled toward intimacy, Tanya, eager to return to the bar, whispered the fatal words, "Hurry up and finish," so she could get back to the bar and continue partying. To Jesperson, it was a trigger, a flash of his ex-wife's disdain, a lifetime of humiliation. The monster awoke. He beat her savagely, then dragged her limp body to the garage. A rope, a struggle, silence. By dawn, Tanya's Walkman sank into the sandy river. Her purse swallowed by the current. Her body vanished into the Columbia's icy embrace.
Comments were made and different things, and an altercation happened, and I struck her. I actually had hit her in the face, and for some reason, I just kept on hitting her in the face, and because of that, I feared going to prison for slugging her in the face and causing bodily injury, and so I killed her.
Jesperson was already miles away, shifting gears, the highway's hum drowning out his guilt. Tanya Bennett was his first, but not his last. For Jesperson, murder wasn't a crime. It was a release. A way to rewrite the narrative of a life spent as a punchline. The trucker's life offered the perfect alibi. No roots, no witnesses, no limits. And the open road, it stretched ahead like a promise. Dark, endless and hungry.
What happened with the first murder?
I picked up a woman at a bar, took her home. We were drinking beer a lot that day.
You meant to kill her.
Oh, yes, I did.
Keith Jesperson had found his calling, and America's highways would soon become a graveyard.
You say it very matter-of-factly, with no remorse or hint of remorse.
It is matter of fact, that's what it is.
Days later, Bennett's body was discovered, but Jesperson would not become a suspect.
In 1991, a middle-aged Oregon couple, Laverne Pavlinac and John Sosnovsky, confessed to Tanya Bennett's murder. Laverne spun a lurid tale of rape and violence, desperate to escape her abusive partner. The police bought it. Sosnovsky got life. Laverne got 10 years. And Keith Jesperson, he got furious. Someone had stolen his spotlight. To Jesperson, murder wasn't just a crime, it was his masterpiece. And now these amateurs were taking credit.
She actually went so far as to buy a purse and put it in the trunk of John's car, claiming it was Tanya Bennett's. We had people in custody for a crime they didn't commit.
Rage burned hotter than diesel fuel, so he fought back in the only way he knew how. With a smile. Days later, another message appeared at a rest stop in Umatilla, Oregon. I killed Tanya Bennett. 2 people got the blame, so I can kill again. But the world shrugged. No headlines. No manhunt. Just the hum of vending machines and the drip of a broken faucet. Jesperson seethed. If they wouldn't listen to walls, he'd write them letters. Anyone who'd read them. Like a cheap copy of the BTK killer, Jesperson mailed confessions to newspapers, police stations. I raped her and beat her real bad. Her face was all broke up. Then I ended her life. He bragged. He signed each with a child's smiley face.
I was puzzled. I'd say it was something that just caught me kind of like off guard, especially when I heard it one had confessed to it.
Dubbing himself the happyfacekiller. The irony? There was nothing happy about him. Just a hollow man. Screaming into the void for someone, anyone, to see his pain. Jesperson's letters weren't just confessions. They were cries for validation. He wanted to be feared, to matter. But in the early 90s, law enforcement didn't take truck stop scribbles seriously. That oversight cost lives. And so the kills continued.
What about Lori Ann Pentland?
Yes, I did kill her. Yeah. Her attitude was like her life was all hell, and she didn't want to be around, and she wanted me to feel sorry for her. And I just, well, you know, I could kill you, put you out of your misery. And she said, go for it, so I did. Well, I told her that, you know, if your life's so bad, why don't you just end it?
Each victim, a woman alone, a hitchhiker, a sex worker, earned another letter. Another smiley face.
You killed her over a parking spot?
Yes, I did. It was supposed to be a parking spot.
Is she the victim that you tied under the truck?
Yes, she is, yeah.
Why did you do that?
I felt that by dragging her under the truck, that I would destroy all evidence of who her identity was.
Did you choke all of the women?
Yes, I did, yeah.
Why did you choke them?
That's what I had done with the first one, so I never changed. It worked the first time, so I went to the second and third, fourth and fifth, sixth and seventh.
But Jesperson's ego was a ticking bomb. And in 1995, it finally detonated with a confession he couldn't take back. The happy face killer had painted his legacy in blood. But the final stroke would come from the last person he ever expected.
Sorry it happened. Wish it never happened. And can we move on? Yeah, I mean, come on. I mean, it's done. It's over with.
How would you feel if somebody did this to your daughter?
Well, I would probably search him down and kill him. Yes, I'd like to go back in time and change it and make it all go away and make it all peaches and cream again, but I can't do that. At the time, I could justify each and every one of those murders, and at this time, I cannot.
By 1992, Keith Jesperson had perfected his craft. 2 years after Tanya Bennett's murder, the highways were his kingdom. And the lost souls who haunted truck stops, prostitutes, addicts, runaways, were his subjects. To him, they were disposable, justified. He killed a woman for sneaking into his rig, another for reaching into his wallet, a third for daring to raise her price. Each time he told himself, they deserved it. But the truth, Jesperson was addicted to the power, to the thrill of watching life drain from their eyes, just like the animals he tortured as a boy. In June 1993, Santa Nella, California, a homeless woman named Carla vanished. September 1994, Crestview, Florida, another Jane Doe buried in anonymity. But it was Angela Surprise, 21 years old, golden-haired.
Is she the victim that you tied under the truck?
Yes, she is, yeah.
Why did you do that?
I felt that by dragging her under the truck, that I would destroy all evidence of who her identity was.
Hitchhiking home to Indiana, who revealed the true depths of Jesperson's depravity. Angela wasn't a lot lizard, she was a dreamer. But when she dared to rush him, "Keep driving, I need to see my boyfriend," Jesperson snapped. He beat her, raped her, strangled her 5 times, savoring each gasp. Then in an act of grotesque genius, he strapped her corpse to his truck's undercarriage and drove. Hours later, her face, hands, and soul were erased by 200 miles of frozen highway. "I wanted her gone." He shrugged. But Jesperson's hunger wasn't sated. It was feeding. Jesperson wasn't just a killer, he was a sadist. The prolonged violence, the desecration of bodies, it was all about control. And his letters, they were trophies. But even monsters make mistakes. In March 1995, Jesperson turned his rage on someone he knew. Julianne Winningham, his fiancée. Convinced she loved his wallet, not him, he strangled her in Washougal, Washington. This time, fear replaced arrogance. Two botched suicides, a desperate surrender, and in custody, the bragging began. He couldn't help himself. Letters, maps, gruesome details, all signed with that twisted smiley face. 3 life sentences, not enough. In 2010, another victim added, "Now in Oregon State Penitentiary, Jesperson's legacy is a gallery of ghosts. 8 confirmed, 185 claimed. But the truth, it died on the highways, buried under snow and lies." Keith Jesperson got the fame he craved. But the smiley face? It's a lie. In the end, all that remains is the scream of the road.
He'd swim right in here, he'd go under the waterfall, and he would just have fun, laughing, and like nobody was around. One time, as we're driving up the old scenic highway, my father said, "I know how to kill someone and get away with it." So I thought maybe the detective magazines was something he's really into, the forensics and crime, maybe he's into that. The same route that we would take going to the Oregon coast is where he disposed the first victim.